So Avengers Endgame is finally here. A lot of people have seen it. Maybe a lot of people haven't. I have seen it 3 times now, and I think I'm ready to share my thoughts. At the first couple minutes of this video, I'm going to keep it spoiler-free. When I'm about to move into spoiler territory, I will warn you, but I'm going to do my very best to keep this first couple minutes spoiler-free because, I'm sure there's still a lot of you who haven't seen it. Again, whenever I'm going to dive into spoilers, I will warn you guys in advance about said spoilers. But Avengers Endgame, put simply, is everything I wanted it to be and more. It is so much more. It is so good. It is it's literally a comic book thrown up on the big screen. Now, every single MCU movie could be argued that, it's a comic book on the big screen, but I think if there's one movie in particular that really does feel like one of those epic comics, imagine the best comic you've ever read thrown up on the big screen, it's Endgame. It really does, through and through, start to finish, feel like that. And the movie, the pacing is so well done that it doesn't feel like 3 hours. The movie is just over 3 hours long, and it doesn't feel like that because it just goes by so quick. Even after my second and third time watching it, knowing what to expect, it still felt like time flew by. It felt like my first time watching it, except I knew what to expect. Which leads me to the other point is it is one hell of an emotional roller coaster through and through. I laughed, I cried, I cheered, I sat in awe. I had moments of surprise, moments of shock. There was just so many moments that played beautifully, and the transition between different emotions was done so beautifully. It never felt like one moment was out of place, at least not to me. It felt like it was all just very well done. It left me speechless every single time. Even after the third time, I'm still sitting here right now recording this video speechless after the third time seeing it. I just seen it for the third time a couple hours ago. I'll be honest, I got emotional all 3 times. And, again, without spoiling it in this first section of this video, one of the reasons I got so emotional was obviously because, despite what happens in the movie, it is the end of a saga. Whether it's it ends good, it ends bad, it ends bittersweet, it ends happy, it ends sad. No matter how it ends, it's the end of a saga, and that in and of itself is emotional. You got to think that I was probably 13 or 14 years old, I think, if I'm doing the math right, when Iron Man 1 came out back in 2008. And, it's been 10, 11 years that I personally have been super invested into this. I am a huge Marvel fan. I've always loved Marvel. And I've just been super emotionally invested in this universe, in this cinematic universe, and I've just felt so connected to it. I don't think there's any kind of medium out there that I've been more connected to. I know a lot of you guys know, who know me, I'm, for example, a big fan of, say, Kingdom Hearts. I get emotional with that video game franchise. But even then, nothing beats out the Marvel Cinematic Universe for me. Marvel is probably my most favorite thing in the world. Whether it's the comics or the movies, and I'm not the biggest comic nerd. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm the biggest comic nerd. I'll be honest that, I only recently started getting really deep back into comics with Infinity War, but I'm head over heels for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and just Marvel as a whole. So, it's something that means a lot to me. It's something that I get very connected and emotional about. And so it was a hard ending, man. It was a hard ending, because, it's the end of a saga. It's not the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's the end of it as we know. A lot of things are going to be changing moving forward. It's a new saga. They're 2 different sagas. This was leading up to, Infinity War and Endgame, with Thanos getting the stones and the gauntlet and that whole shebang. That's kind of, the saga they were leading up to, the story they were telling. Who knows where they go with it next? Will they tell a story with, a nihilist? Can it be, there's still other stories with Thanos. So, it would be nice to see if they do that too. But as far as Endgame goes, I couldn't ask for a better ending. Like I said, it really took me for the most intense emotional roller coaster of my life. And through and through, the movie is for fans, made by fans. That's how it felt like. It felt like the movie was made by fans, for fans, and I would honestly rate the movie an easy 10 out of 10, and I hope it becomes the #1 largest grossing film in history, beating out, Avatar and Titanic, which are in the top 2 spots right now. I really hope that happens. Right now, it's sitting at $1.2 billion in its opening weekend, which is absolutely insane. Right now, it's already 18th place in the highest grossing films ever. 18th place in just this opening weekend. That's like since Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know if they're including Sunday because that number came out earlier today, Sunday. I'm recording this on Sunday. Anyways, all that said, that's kind of my spoiler-free portion of this review. I want to head into a spoiler portion here. So if you guys have not seen Endgame, I'm going to stress this. Okay? I'm going to say it again. If you're not paying attention, if you have not seen Endgame, click off this video unless you don't care about spoilers. But even if you don't care about spoilers, I urge you so much to reconsider that, because I'm telling you, you do not want to spoil this for yourself. You want to see it with fresh eyes. You want to hear it with fresh ears. You do not want it to be spoiled for you. So again, I'm going into spoilers right now. This is your last chance to click off the video, because this is where I am going to go full-fledged spoilers and talk about every single plot point, because there's a lot of stuff I just got to get off my chest. So click off if you haven't seen the video. 3, 2, 1. You're still here? All right, let's get into the spoilers. So the movie, man, the movie starts off pretty quietly. It starts off with obviously Hawkeye showing how that happened, because we didn't see that. That was the one thing we didn't see is what happened to Hawkeye, what happened to his family. We didn't know. They all got dusted, man. They all got dusted. So that kicked off for an emotional roller coaster in and of itself. The cool thing was that Hawkeye called his daughter Hawkeye when she was practicing her archery skills when he was teaching her. And that's actually reminiscent to the comics, because she does become a version of Hawkeye herself in the comics, which could be leading to the Young Avengers. I'm pretty sure they're going that route. Very quickly, I don't want to jump all over the movie right off the start of my spoilery kind of review portion, but right off the top, I do want to kind of jump around the movie, because I want to talk about the Young Avengers really quick. There is the kid at the end of Iron Man 3, which I actually can't remember his name right now. I think it's like Harley something. I'm drawing a blank off the top of my head. But anyways, the kid in Iron Man 3 that Tony Stark ends up trying to fix his Iron Man suit in his garage. That kid is now a teenager and is actually seen at the end at Tony Stark's funeral. Now, we're going to talk about that more in a second. Again, I know I'm jumping from the beginning to the end, but there's a reason. I want to talk about the Young Avengers. And in the comics, this kid actually he builds his own Iron Man suit, kind of inspired by Tony Stark, and he becomes a Young Avenger, and he ends up actually dating Cassie Lang, Scott Lang's daughter, Scott Lang being Ant-Man, who Cassie Lang is actually also a superhero in the Young Avengers, and her name is Stature. She's basically Ant-Girl, in essence, but her name is Stature. And so we already have at least 3 potential Young Avengers. There's room for more. In the comics, Wanda and Vision have kids, and they end up being they're twin boys, and they end up being part of the Young Avengers as well. So will they go that route? I don't know, because at this point, Cassie Lang's a teenager. Again, I believe his name is Harley, if I remember correctly. The kid from Iron Man 3. He's a teenager now at this point too. So I don't know, it'd be kind of weird. And then a lot of people were kind of wondering, well, Vision's dead, right? Well, yeah, technically, but I'm pretty sure that Shuri was able to download Vision's kind of mind to her computers in Infinity War before he basically got off the table and unplugged himself, if you will, to go fight in the war that was Infinity War. So I'm pretty sure that he's going to come back. I would be very surprised if he doesn't. Now, let's move on. So yeah, it starts off a little bit slow, but it's nice. It's a nice way to kind of build up momentum. It's kind of like a train. It kind of builds up and builds up and builds up. And they actually go fight Thanos right off the top. Thor finally goes for the head, cuts off his head, and that was that. And Thanos was dead pretty early, so you kind of wonder, well, wow, that's it. Now what? Because Thanos had used the stones to make the stones disappear, which man, obviously hit the Avengers very hard. They didn't know what to do. 5 years passed. Thor became a friggin' drunk and he was very depressed, which was really cool to see that Korg was playing Fortnite and Thor got on the mic and talked to Noob Master 69, which I thought that was really cool to see that kind of element. But Thor kind of like let himself go. He ended up being fat and getting fat because he drank so much damn beer and he just ate a lot of crappy food, and a lot of people were kind of torn on that portrayal of Thor, and it's funny at first, but you kind of think of it, you're like, do I really like this though? Because it's kind of like, dude, this is Thor. But what you gotta understand is Thor's been through a lot, right? I mean, Jane broke up with him. His dad died. His mom died. He wasn't able to save her. Loki died. He wasn't able to save him. Heimdall died. He wasn't able to save him. There's just so many different things that happened. Half of the Asgardian fleet was wiped out when Thanos attacked at the beginning of Infinity War. He ended up not going for the head in Infinity War, and so Thanos was able to snap his finger, so he failed then. A lot of things have happened. He feels like he's failed in many different ways. He had to kill his own sister for crying out loud in Thor Ragnarok. So a lot of things have happened, and you gotta feel for the guy. You gotta feel for the guy. To some extent, and so it's kind of understandable the state he ended up being in, which New Asgard, by the way, was on Earth, which is again from the comics, which I thought was really cool. Anyways, there's a lot of things I could talk about, a lot of things I want to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about kind of more Easter eggs in a different video, because there's a lot of things again to talk about, but I want to kind of try to go through this as fast as I can. I mentioned a few more other quick things. The time travel thing, which, I mean, that was my prediction after Infinity War, that they were going to use a quantum realm for time travel, and that's what ended up happening, which is really cool to see. I'm not disappointed that it was predicted. I think that's great, and to see how they did it was even more amazing. So essentially, you had to go back in time to get the time stones, or not the time stones, the Infinity Stones, and it was really cool to see them go back to different parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's kind of like they were recapping the older MCU movies, some of the main ones anyways, in a way that was, obviously still fresh, right? So that was, I feel like Endgame did a really good job of kind of like looking back on the MCU while, having its own story and keeping things fresh, and to see them go back to the Battle of New York and kind of see a little bit of behind the scenes and things we didn't obviously see in the first Avengers movie. And then of course, same thing with Guardians 1. We've seen a little bit of that intro where Nebula and War Machine go and get the Power Stone, knocking out Quill, which was funny. All these different little things, right? I think the worst thing that hit me in the gut was seeing that Black Widow, Natasha, ended up being the one who sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone. Because of course the Soul Stone needs a sacrifice in order to get it. And her and Hawkeye, Clint Barton, were fighting over it. And at the end of the day, if I had to choose, one of them to die, I mean, I wouldn't want either one to die. But I mean, Clint has a family. Natasha didn't. At the same time, I like Black Widow more than Hawkeye personally. So it's kind of this weird tearing thing where it's like either way it would have sucked. It would have been a kick in the gut. It's very interesting. The other thing I want to mention is that we see Gamora return when old Nebula, 2014 Nebula, brings Thanos and Gamora into the future. And that kind of makes me wonder if there's any way that maybe Hulk in the future will go back and use the quantum realm and time travel in that sense to somehow bring Natasha back from before she sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone. I wonder if that is a possibility. So anyways, we've seen that was obviously very hard to take in. We've seen Tony talk to his dad because they went back, him and Cap went back to the 1970s because it kind of screwed up with the Tesseract in 2012's New York. So they go to the 1970s and we've seen an old Hank Pym with the original Ant-Man design, the Ant-Man helmet design on the desk, which was really cool. And we've seen so many different things. We've seen Tony just kind of connect with his dad and kind of give him a hug and kind of just show that he appreciated him, which is something he wasn't able to do. So that was really, really nice to see as well. And what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing a stone. There's a time stone, which I mean, there's not a lot to talk about there. I mean, seeing Hulk kind of or Bruce Banner kind of interact with the Ancient One is really cool. And Professor Hulk, the fact that Banner kind of found a way to have a middle ground where he's still like 100% Banner, but he's in the body of Hulk. Like he's 100% Hulk, but 100% Banner. That was really cool to see, which I thought was going to happen because again, you got to think Infinity War, Hulk wouldn't come out. But Thor Ragnarok, it was pretty much just Hulk. He couldn't go back to Banner, and so you knew that they were leading up to some kind of middle ground. And so seeing that was really cool. I think the personality Professor Hulk was absolutely amazing. I love kind of like his just his personality. It's like a little bit of Hulk and a little bit of Bruce mixed together. So that was really nice as well. Captain Marvel, I'm glad was not overused because she's very new to the franchise and to the universe. And I would have been really pissed off if she was overused. She wasn't in it as much as I thought she would have, which made me happy because, it's not her movie to star in, right? It's the rest of the original Avengers. And at the end, they kind of started going in the direction of you thinking like she's going to be the one that kind of saves the world and gets the gauntlet from Thanos. But after all is said and done, ends up that she gets the crap kicked out of her by Thanos. And then Doctor Strange looks over to Tony Stark and points his finger up, saying, "This number one. This is the one, scenario where we win." Which Tony Stark has to be the one to get the stones in the gauntlet. And, Thanos says, "I am inevitable." He snaps his fingers. Nothing happens because he didn't realize that Tony Stark took the stones, which in which Tony Stark says, "I am Iron Man," snaps his fingers. And, the power of the stones is too much for his human body to handle. And it essentially kills off Tony Stark. And you know what? I really, really wish they would have kind of, left it that he could have a happy ending with his family, because that's the other thing I forgot to mention. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but he has a daughter. We see that he has a daughter. Finally, everything he wanted. He's got married to Pepper. They live on a nice, cabin by the lake. He's married. He's got a beautiful little daughter, and she loves him 3,000. And that's something she says, early in the movie, and it's just beautiful. And then to see him die is heartbreaking because he has his family, but it's also a hero's way to go out. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't be mad at it, but at the same time, I kind of wish that they would have given him a happy ending. But at the end of it, you see him reconnect with Spider-Man, with Peter Parker, and they before he dies. Again, let me backtrack a little bit here. Before he dies, Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man are fighting Thanos, and then all of a sudden Falcon kind of pages in on Steve Rogers comms, because previously when they first came back with the stones, Hulk was actually the one to snap everybody back into existence, which it took a toll on him, and he's pretty much made of gamma radiation. And it was really cool. I think the most epic thing that I've ever seen in any movie ever was that final battle where everyone came back. Doctor Strange and all the wizards opened up the portals, and the first people to come out was Okoye, Shuri, and Black Panther, and then everyone else started coming out. All the Guardians of the Galaxy and just everyone, and the Ravagers were there, whether you noticed them or not, and Korg and Meek and just everyone, man. Literally everyone was there, man. It was crazy. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. The battle was played out so nicely. The way kind of you've seen different characters interact. You've seen Spider-Man interact with Valkyrie, which I thought was absolutely insane. It was really cool. It's like, hey, I'm Spider-Man. Just really cool moments like that. And again, to see when Peter came back, he kind of went up to Tony Stark and Tony just hugged him. Like he was his own son, and it was just a beautiful moment, because obviously, you can tell that one of Tony's main drives for going through with the time travel heist was the fact that he looked at the picture of him and Peter, and he knew that he had to bring the kid back, as he would say it, right? So, there was that. There was a lot to it. I'm probably dragging this video way too long, but it was an amazing movie. It was absolutely through and through an amazing movie. Pepper telling him when he was about to die, that it's okay, we'll be okay, you can rest now, because all the way since the Battle of New York, he hasn't been able to rest, and her telling him it's going to be okay, you can rest, we'll be fine, and then he just kind of fades away, and then they have the beautiful funeral for him, and dude, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I watched the movie, I cried. It was absolutely beautiful. I could not help but cry. I'm probably gonna cry every single time I watch this movie because it is so heartbreaking to see, Tony Stark's story come to an end. He's the one that kicked it off. To see that Robert Downey Jr. is just hanging up, the Iron Man suit, if you will. It's just very sad. But to see that Pepper was in her rescue armor from the comics was absolutely cool to see them fight back to back in that battle. And it leaves a door open too because, I think earlier in the movie you've seen his daughter kind of wearing the helmet for the rescue armor, and I think that may be kind of like foreshadowing that his daughter is going to become Ironheart, which is basically like a kid version of Iron Man, if you will, right? So I think that might happen, that his daughter does become. Take his place in the future of the MCU, and maybe she'll be part of the Young Avengers as well at some point or something. I don't know. I really hope that we can at least see that. He leaves them one last kind of goodbye before he actually went and did the time heist. That he recorded a goodbye, and he ends it with "I love you 3000." Looking at his daughter, and it's like, oh, dude, that just hit me in the feel so hard. So. It was crazy, and then the wrap up the movie. You see Captain America go back in time to replace the stones, so there's no paradoxes or any kind of splits in the timeline. He returns the stones, but he stays back there, and he comes back as an old man, and he ends up giving Sam Wilson, Falcon, his shield, which is he could have either given it to Bucky or Sam Wilson, because both of them take up the mantle of Captain America in the comics. So it could have went either way. I feel like it should have been to Bucky because Bucky has the super soldier serum in him, and Sam Wilson doesn't. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess the future, but I don't know. I would have preferred Bucky, but either way. But essentially, Cap went back to live a normal life that Tony was always talking about, and he went back in time. He ended up marrying Peggy Carter. They had their final dance, which is how the movie ends. Their final dance and a kiss, and that's it, man. And the credits roll. So there's a lot more to the movie, obviously, that I could rant about, but I'll leave it at that. It was just beautiful through and through. It was beautiful. It was tear jerking. It was one hell of a way to send Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. out with a bang. I think they both had beautiful endings. I would have preferred that Iron Man, Tony Stark, would have had happy ending where he would live happily ever after with his family, but. He died a hero's death. He went out like a hero, and it's heavy, dude. It's heavy. So it's amazing. It's a 10 out of 10. It's probably the best movie I've ever seen in my life, and I cannot wait to watch it another 200 times, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the future of the MCU. And I wish both Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. would still have a part in the future, but again, the way their stories ended, I couldn't have asked for a more satisfying ending. Again, except if they kept Iron Man alive, but whatever. It was still satisfactory. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's my long rant of Avengers Endgame. Again, it was a masterpiece. It was insane, and what a beautiful end to a long 10 to 11 year journey. Like Tony Stark says, every journey has an end, and this is the end of the Infinity Saga, the end of Captain America's storyline, and the end of Iron Man's storyline. He started it all, and he went out with a bang. So I love it. Can't wait to see it again. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Catch you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Later.